Inman was the director of naval intelligence from 1974 to 1976 before moving on to become the vice director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. You can see what he did? I mean, he skipped over some pretty senior people, and he's going right straight to the top. And only people who are considered to be of the inner circle do that. He became the director of the National Security Agency in 1977, holding that post until 1981 when he attained the rank of admiral and became the deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency. He retired from government service in 1982 and became the CEO for MCC. Remember what I was telling you about implants? Microelectronics and Computer Technology Corporation. MCC is a private sector joint venture supported by and share funded by the government and corporate shareholders. The venture was motivated by the Japanese fifth generation artificial intelligence computer project. This is a letter from Bob. Remember I told you Bob Swan was the one who talked me into going back after I went AWOL. Later, I got married on June the 2nd, 1972. On June the 1st, 1972, I sat down with Bob and a bottle of scotch and I told him everything I knew and gave him a set of documents to prove it. Bob acknowledges that conversation in this letter. He acknowledges what I told him about alien installations on the moon, about the Kennedy assassination, about the fact that I gave him documents that were highly classified, and he says that he doesn't know what happened to them, he doesn't have them anymore, and it's exactly what he should say. Next. And next. This is a document known as the Eisenhower Briefing Document. It was brought out by a research team of Moore, Chandray, and Friedman. William Moore, with Charles Berlitz, wrote a book called The Roswell Incident, which was the first legitimate work on the so-called crash with the flying saucer near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. This document is a fraud, and I can prove it to you very easily. But it has a lot of truth in it. In fact, the document itself reads as if it were taken right out of Moore's book, The Roswell Incident. All of the designations on it are legitimate. Top secret and magic was the same designation given to material that I saw when I was with Naval Intelligence. Magic means Magi controlled. Magi is the majority agency for joint intelligence, which reports only to a top secret group called Majesty 12, also known as Majority 12. It is made up of 19 members. There are 6 from government, 6 from the Executive Committee on the Council on Foreign Relations, 6 from the Jason Scientific Group administered by the MITRE Corporation and Dr. Edward Teller. This briefing document calls it Operation Majestic 12. The documents that I saw said that it was Operation Majority. Also, look at the date, 18 November 1952. Eisenhower was not yet president, and if this is truly one of the highest held secrets in this country, he would never have been exposed to this information until he actually took the oath of president. He was not even in government service at the time he was elected. He was the president of a college. Next, please. I can tell you that of those listed there, those names, Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter was the director of the CIA when this group was supposedly formed. If in fact it was formed at that time, he would have definitely been a member. Secretary James B. Forrestal, according to the documentation that I saw, was a member and was the man responsible for the operation of the recovery of the craft at Roswell, New Mexico. And it is really his story that is outlined in Whitley Strieber's book called Majestic. The main character in that book was an abductee, carried the bodies from the crash site to Los Alamos National Laboratory. In the documentation that I saw, that actually did happen at James B. Forrestal. Next slide, please. And next slide. We don't have time to go through every sentence and every paragraph, so I'm just going to hit the major points. Next. On this page, you can see, without any doubt, that this document is a fraud. In enumeration of attachments, you'll see attachment A, special classified executive order number 092447 TS/EO. TS is top secret, EO is executive order. Executive orders are numbered consecutively from president to president, from executive order to executive order, no matter who occupies the White House, for the purpose of continuity and record keeping. Truman wrote executive orders in the 9,000 range. Eisenhower wrote executive orders in the 10,000 range, and so on and so forth. President Nixon wrote in the 11,000 range, and some of the ones that he wrote were actually signed by Carter. This is 92,447. Any way that you look at it, it can only be a date. 09, which would be what month? September the 24th, 1947. Executive orders are not listed by date, they are listed by number. Next slide, please. This is a memorandum for the Secretary of Defense. This also is a fraud. Next slide, please. This is legitimate. This came directly from the National Archives. It is legitimate. One thing that makes it important is it does mention NSC, National Security Council / MJ12 Special Studies Project. In the documentation that I saw, Majesty 12, also known as Majority 12 for security reasons, where I got the name Majority 12 is that they had to have a majority of 12 votes to carry on any motion or any operation or anything that they wanted to do. If they didn't have 12 votes, they couldn't do it. It was abbreviated MJ12. I also saw documents that there was a special studies group made up of scientists and prominent people belonging to a secret society called the Jason Society, which actually makes up the core of the Council on Foreign Relations. And under them is a Jason scientific group administered by the MITRE Corporation to study all the facts, lies, evidence, disinformation of the alien question and arrive at what the truth was. It was a 3-year study. Dr. Zbigniew Brzezinski headed the study group for the first 18 months. The second 18 months was headed by Dr. Henry Kissinger. During that time, Dr. Henry Kissinger, this is historical record, wouldn't even speak to anyone. He was gone, get up early, he'd leave, he'd come back very late at night, didn't talk to anybody, didn't care about anybody. He was so engrossed in whatever he was doing that it was like he was living in another world. His wife actually divorced him for this. So it fits. If he was really studying the alien question, I think that's the only thing that I can think of that would engross me so much that I would neglect my wife. Something of such historical and monumental consequence as that. Next slide, please. This, nobody knows if this is real or not, but this is one of the documentation that Moore, Channery, and Friedman came out with. Next slide. This is a letter from Jesse Marcel Jr. In the Roswell crash in 1947, Major Jesse Roswell was an intelligence officer attached to Roswell Army Air Force Base, and he was the one who was sent out to check out this wreckage that Mr. Brazel reported on his ranch. When he got there, he determined that this wasn't anything he'd ever seen before, didn't know what it was, gathered it all up, put it in his car, took it home, showed it to his wife and child that night, and the following morning took it into the base. That night, when he showed it to his child, Jesse Marcel Jr., interpreted that this was pieces of a flying saucer. Now, I don't know if his father told him it was a flying saucer.